So tell me about Property Assistant and how it all started for you.
Yeah, so Property Assistant is a building maintenance company. We do commercial, body corporate and residential. We pretty much cover most aspects of the maintenance required at your building. So from the general handyman services to project management of larger remedial work. So.
Yeah. Little disclaimer, I guess, like prior to you starting up your business, you actually worked for Active for a little bit.
Yeah,
that was
Active was the gateway.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
I did a short stint here, and that was 6 years ago now. I think probably 7 almost.
Really? Man, that's gone quick.
Basically, was working at Active, had a great time, but I sort of saw a gap in the market for the project management aspect of all these day-to-day jobs. I saw that the amount of management that I as a building manager had to do just to look after all these little tiny jobs, it was a full-time job, and saw there was a bit of a market there. There weren't many companies doing that, so that's where I sort of stepped off and did my own thing, and had some good contacts and started off just doing just sort of project managing and having subcontractors. That sort of built in over the last 6 years, bigger customer base, and now I've got 5 employees.
Oh, nice.
And so that's 4 handymen, an admin girl, and a large pool of contractors that I keep pretty busy and can sort of call on a day-to-day basis and do so.
That point you mentioned about how much like little project work that you do as a building manager, that's so true. Yeah. And you end up being almost like a project manager by default. So for you to be able to spot that and go, that's where the opportunity is. Yeah. Was that like a bit of a light bulb moment for you?
I don't think it was a light bulb moment because it was gradual. Like I could see it, but I didn't know enough about the industry to sort of go, oh, this is what's missing. It's a gradual sort of thing that's evolved, but more and more I do see it now, and whether it just be working for a mum and dad or a big corporate or a building manager or a property manager or a body corporate manager, they are expected to, or they've got a lot to try and organise, and either they don't know how to do it, or they don't have the time to do it, or that they just want someone else to take over that and have confidence that it's done right, I guess. Yeah,
well, they end up doing it badly because, like you say, they actually don't know they don't have like a framework or a template of how to actually manage a project.
Exactly. Yeah. And it can be, even the smallest job. Like there's no 5-minute job. It's not like it's just going to take 5 minutes. So even those jobs take a lot of organising and planning. And I guess that's sort of where we focused our company, and yes, I now have guys that work for me and they solely do the work, the grunt work. I still do the project management, make sure it all goes smoothly and correctly, and I guess also that means my clients can keep coming back to me, and there's a history there, and we can, if it's an ongoing or historic, we can actually resolve it.
So did you ever think you were going to be a project manager at any stage in your life? Like what would you actually do prior to building managing and things like that?
Don't know if I should say this because it's sort of a completely different ballgame, but no, I'm a marine engineer by trade, and so I left school relatively early, did my apprenticeship straight away, 5 years, and then worked on multi-million-dollar motor yachts, private ones overseas. Got a number of qualifications in the UK and basically gallivanted around the world for about 15 years, and then I came back to New Zealand, and I was trying to figure out how I can use those skills of marine systems engineering, which is it's a lot of hotel services, so the air conditioning, the sewage, the general systems, the electrical, the plumbing.
But on a yacht, on a super yacht.
But on a yacht, yeah. So, but the principle's the same, right? So I was seeing how I could pull that land-based. I was looking for something in maybe facilities management. Went to active, and then those sort of skills went through to the project management.
Yeah. And so what do you think it is about, like, what are your natural skills that make you like a good project manager, do you think?
Organised.
Yeah.
You know, that's a pretty straightforward one, but I think what I'm realising clients like is they like to receive a reply relatively quickly. They like, you know, constant communication. You know, I know we're all sort of busy, but whether you can reply to an email or reply to a phone call or a text just saying, yep, received, understood, or I'm onto it, I'll come back to you in X time frame, you know, that means the client can sort of rest easy, knows something's happening, and sort of forget about it. So I guess communication's a big one. And then having a big enough understanding or broad understanding of a lot of aspects of the industry. So then you can sort of pull it all together, and if you don't know the answer, but you can still extract the answer out of the specialist, you know, by just understanding enough.
You must have learned a lot, like in that period of having your business. Like you obviously learned the business side of things, which is, you know, it's tough to get your head around at times running your own business. So I take my hat off to anyone that's lasted, 6 years is a good nudge, man, and plenty more ahead of you. But you must have learned a lot about maintenance and property as well while you're doing this, just talking to different tradies and stuff.
Yep, definitely. Learning every day. I'm learning a lot more about the council side of things, and just, the fire side of things, and also understanding how the industry works, especially in the maintenance, and how it's connected to, the sort of the body corporates and the commercial and the body corporate management, and then just all the different layers involved, and then sort of how it comes down through to the client. Cool. So you mentioned before about your contractor base. What services does Property Assistant provide to the client base as a whole? So handyman, builders, plumbers, electrical, roofing. We do exterior wash, project management, and then even some of our clients just use us for everything. Like outside of the box, just, hey, we've got this issue, the sign's fallen down, can you resolve it? There's some, a piece of the cladding's fallen off, can you come and secure it? And so almost day-to-day errands as well for a building or a body corporate is something that sort of falls into what we do. Could you just have a look at this while you're here type thing? I bet that comes up a lot. Try and tick off as many things as we can when we go and have that meeting. But I guess the good thing about building a good relationship with my clients is, I'm on the end of the phone all the time. They're calling me. We're just having conversations all day long of, add this to that list. Check this next time you're there. And again, I go, yep, I'll take care of it. Put it on my list. They forget about it. They can move on to the next part of their day, and I'll just put it on my list for, tomorrow when I can fit it in. So.
Yeah, because I guess essentially what you're doing is you're giving people, I guess, like the surety that the job's going to get done to a good standard, but you're also giving people back their time. Like they're not actually having to dick around, like trying to manage these sub-trades. They leave that to you because you know exactly what you're doing, and you're like, that's what you do. You you give people back their time, and they know a job's being well done.
And that's so important these days. Everyone's busy. I don't know any industry right now that isn't flat out. So to be able to take that load off people and actually get the job done efficiently and effectively, and make their life easier is good. And I understand that because I've been sort of going through trying to do some council consent things at the moment, and I'm sort of bumbling my way through it, like trying to figure it out, and I realise now that I know I can figure it out, but if I had known X, Y, Z, or if I'd handed it over to someone else who does it every day, it would have been done a lot quicker.
Yeah, but I guess that's part of the learning, and so the next time you go to do it, you're like, I know to turn left instead of right, and it's process, right? It's Yeah, I mean, councils are never that easy to deal with. So I think if you can figure them out or have someone on hand that can figure it out for you, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
So aside from those couple of things that you mentioned there, do you think that those are like your competitive advantage? Do you think like it's that customer service and that detail that you give with your client?
Yeah, actually that's one I missed right at the beginning there, was just that customer service. When I was doing building management, I was forever chasing the contractors up. It's like, I'm trying to give you this work. Come on, like, we're trying to give you some money here. Like,
literally.
And it was and it was, you're forever chasing them. And if you're spending all your time chasing someone, you're not getting any other work done. So I wanted to make sure I gave that good customer service, and that's what I'm trying to uphold. Now even as I get busier, and make sure that that's sort of front of mind with the growth of the company, is having enough capacity to keep that customer service up, and whether that just be making sure you come back to your client and let them know, yep, I'll take care of it. None of this, that you hear back from them a week later or something like that, and in the meantime you don't know what is even happening.
Oh man, I'm surprised at how many businesses are out there that say if you send someone a query through their website and you just never get a reply. I'm thinking, where is that going to, and why isn't someone bloody there, answering that straight away?
Yeah, and I mean, they're either doing so well that they're not interested, or there's a gap where they're losing potential clients. But yeah, that's it. Keep that customer service up, and I think that goes a long way.
Yeah, I mean, it can be a game changer. Like, it can be a huge point of difference between you and a competitor who might offer a similar service. So with the economy being quite buoyant at times, you have the major sort of construction boom. But what I've seen happen is when that boom finishes, you'll have in the construction kind of grinds to a halt, you'll have a period of a lot of people starting to do maintenance and things like that. So you guys would be really well placed to keep going through, obviously not in the construction industry but in the maintenance industry. Has that ever sort of featured in your when you sort of plan and look ahead? Have you sort of looked at it that way?
Yeah, no, I agree. Like, we're in a bit of a boom right now, and all the builders are sort of taken away from any sort of maintenance or the minor sort of work that still needs to be done on a day-to-day basis, and yeah, we've seen some big growth through that period. I think the key is just making good relationships with the clients. It's like us with our insurance company, for example. There's no reason, once you get locked into an insurance company, not locked in, but once you've got an insurance company, you've got no reason to change. Unless another competitor's coming through and says it's this much cheaper and can actually prove that, and you get instant results, most people stay, and as long as you get good service, right? So I guess we're just making sure that we continue to give good service and got good relationships, and I think most of our clients will sort of stick around, and yes, there'll be probably more people in the industry trying to find work, but again, I think once you've got some good relationships, you're sitting pretty good, and again, just keep up that customer relationship and good service.
That's you would have found this over the years too. That's largely what business is about, is relationships, and it's takes a long time to build them up, and if your service isn't right, they can disappear very quickly as well. So you build up that goodwill with your client base, and that's like your little bit of gold, really. They say that the good news travels a lot slower than bad news at times.
It does. It does. Yeah, it's not like the industries that we're in. It's not like a tech industry where it just goes boom and everyone hears about it and guys make billions of dollars. It's relationships, and it's built slowly, and you prove yourself, and you stick around when it's tough, and people come and go, customers, and hopefully enough of them have sort of mentioned your name when they leave, type thing.
That's right.
And then you got to continually go out and refresh people, customers of who you are and what you do. So it's an ongoing process.
What do you think it's important to maintain your property? I mean, there's probably some really obvious things that leap out straight away, but what do you think are the key things that you think about when someone says, why should I maintain my property? Why don't I just leave it as it is?
Yeah. I mean, that's it. It can be tricky with properties because you get a brand new home and you look at it and you go, it's perfect, and it degrades slowly, but so slowly that most people don't notice. But just generally, there's sort of basic maintenance that you need to do. You need to continually check your roof. You got to check your gutters because they're the ones that are going to block up over winter. You're going to have a big flood, and it's going to create further issues. And just generally, it will. If you keep the maintenance up, you will prolong the life of your asset.
Do you guys do say like little programs or packages for people like that? Do you say, well, for X amount of dollars we'll come in and check your gutters, wash your house, and just do like a bit of a package, or is that something that's coming up?
Yeah, good question. I have tried that. I have tried pitching that, and again, it depends on the type of client. Some clients believe in, so you're talking basically about sort of a preventative maintenance program, and some clients believe in that and they understand that. Other clients, you're trying to educate a bit more because they're sort of seeing that, why would I pay money down now and not seeing an instant effect? Why can't I just pay money later and have it done then? So it depends on the customer. We've tried long-term maintenance plans and things along those lines. We don't have anything formal other than as our relationships grow with our clients, we always sort of recommend gutter cleans, building washes at different time periods, inspecting plumbing work, even just down to general inspection of the cladding. So depending on what the building is, we do sort of recommend certain maintenance schedules, and then we sort of give them a quote based on that. Say, do you want to go ahead? Yeah.
And I mean, like that should almost be a no-brainer. Like, I guess from how we look at property, you think that everyone would be doing that. It just makes sense to have some sort of like care package around your house each year. Because you can be identifying things that are small issues now, but it might turn into big issues, and you can nip them in the bud.
Yeah.
So I kind of you'd hope that people would get into programs like that.
And for body corporates, for example, that's, and especially new apartment buildings, that's when you got to implement the long-term maintenance plan. And the long-term maintenance plan is one thing. That's ongoing maintenance for everything all the way down to structural. But then there's just the preventative maintenance schedule, which is more simple, which can be weekly, monthly, 6 monthly, annually, etc. And that depends on the system. And right at the beginning is the time you need to implement that, because if you can sort of tell your clients, the owners in the body corporate, that this needs to be done, this is going to be your ongoing cost, implement it then it's not such a shock later. But if you're trying to implement it 5 years down the track, with a whole lot of people that haven't had it done before and they're going, we've been okay until now, it's very, very difficult. So newer buildings are probably better and easier to implement that. Older buildings a bit harder.
That's really good advice, and I think the in new buildings especially, people tend to think, it's brand new, I don't have to do anything to it for the first 5 or 10 years, and it's like, no, that's not correct. As soon as that building is built, it starts to degrade. Or, it needs maintenance. It needs something from day dot. You've got warranties to maintain as well with brand new buildings.
Exactly.
Certain things that you've got to do there. And they tend to focus on, no, we'll just build up the long-term maintenance fund in the first few years, and it's like, that's a great idea, but you've still got work to do in the first couple of years to make sure that you're meeting your obligations. So,
and I've really seen that in different committees. If you got a committee where there's someone driving things like that, it completely changes the potential outcome of a building. But if you've got a committee where they're just sort of a committee, but they're not so involved, or they don't have enough technical knowledge. That's when that sort of stuff can be left behind.
Yep. Yeah, that's a fair point. So what do you having growing your own business? What do you actually enjoy about it? Say about the business side of things, but then about the service that you provide as well.
Yeah, I think I've always been sort of driven to run my own show. I mean, I've worked for people most of my life, but it was always in sort of a relatively flexible situation. And I think that's it, is flexibility in my life. Being your own boss is great. Yes, it comes with stresses, and you bear a lot of the burden, etc. But just having that flexibility and know that you're sort of growing something as you're sort of growing older and the world's changing, you're growing something, and gives me a bit of a kick too. So.
Yeah, because essentially you're a problem solver. You're constantly solving people's problems, and they might come to you and realise that their problem is maybe not as big as what it is. And they say, "Oh, Dave, can you just have a look at this for us?" And you go, "Oh, you've got a big problem here." And so how do customers react to something like that? You must have a few clangers where they underestimate what you guys actually do.
Talking about giving them the bad news when it's bigger than what they think is actually one not too far from here with that particular situation.
Rightio.
And it's a hard one. Like, I think if you've got a good client and you can explain it to them and they understand it, then you can resolve it. It's hard when the client's sort of shocked and in denial a little bit, about the gravity of the damage or the degradation that a building can have. But it's good to be able to solve those problems for people, and it's amazing the different people that you meet and the relationships that you sort of grow through different clients. And
you never know who you're talking to, eh? Like it's one client might lead to another, and before you know it, you've got an entire suburb or building that calls on you for the services and things. Is there any aspects that you don't enjoy? We always tend to focus on the positives, but there must be some negatives.
I mean, it's all day to day. You test it every day, aren't you? With different little variables. Just when you think you're trying to put your processes and procedures in place, another little variable comes in there. You go, that didn't quite work. So that's just ongoing. I guess just educating clients, just what it takes to get a job done. Especially if you're taking into account health and safety. Trying to explain to them, the preparation that's involved to get it to the start of the project, for example, or just getting to the start of, finding out what the issue before you've even actually resolved it. So, just sort of dealing with clients and educating them, I guess.
And what you said before about, I think you're more referring to your business as being it's a long haul thing, and it's not. We're not in this boom or bust type economy so much with like a tech company would be. That's a bloody good comment, and I think a lot of say the boom. If you look at a building or a property, the boom is when it's first built, but then it's the lifetime of that property, which is just that constant I guess not grind's not the right word, but just it's a long journey. You look at the life of most buildings. They say they should last for 50 to 100 years. So there's opportunity over that sort of time frame for businesses to make money. Maintaining that building, looking after that building, cleaning it, offering other services to the building. So it's a good sort of. It's more of a philosophical way to look at it. It's the life cycle of a building.
Yep. Exactly. The maintenance doesn't stop. And it all. I mean, the type of construction's a big factor. Location's a big factor. But the maintenance just is continuous.
So how was COVID for you guys? Like, did you have to stop working, or could you work through?
I mean, I think COVID for everyone, it was nerve-wracking. You sort of all you hear is doom and gloom, and at any moment you think you're just expecting to lose all your business and go bankrupt. It didn't really happen for us. We were, bar the lockdowns, we're also what's it called? We were we could go to emergency call-outs and things like that. We were considered essential.
Oh, that's good.
So so that was good. We actually did quite a bit of work at the barracks, which is one of the barracks, which was basically, they had a whole hotel that they were renting out.
Like an army barracks?
Yeah, army barracks. No, it was here in Grafton.
Oh, right.
Yeah, I won't mention it, but I can
that's
text
fair
it. So that was basically, they hired out a whole hotel, and that was the barracks there. So we did a lot of maintenance there. So I had to follow a lot of those protocols to get in there, constantly tested, etc. But no, the business was pretty good over COVID. There was a lot of, you always had to make changes and reschedule and things. But then also having some of our work outdoors, on the exterior, we could sort of do that safely in a bubble and sort of manage it that way. I mean, it was all in all, it was pretty good.
I guess the next one we're all got to be looking out for now, and hopefully it's not as serious as the monkeypox.
Yes, yes.
I've heard a few rumours already, and it's like, oh God, like, when does it end?
Yes, I know.
Maybe COVID's not as bad as the monkeypox thing. Who knows?
Yeah. I heard over in Oz they were getting some pretty bad viruses going around, and my mates are saying, COVID's nothing, mate. So wait till you get this other one.
Oh, great. Yeah, I see we got our third case today. I saw that in the papers. So,
okay.
Fun times ahead. Just on the subject of technology, like, I guess what you guys do. There's a certain tech element to it, like using tools and methods and things like that. But it strikes me as being like the sort of industry or job or task that isn't going to be replaced by a robot. Do you think, like, is there anything on the horizon, like, what's new in the tech thing for property maintenance?
Yeah. Good question. I guess as far as tech goes, and what we use on a day-to-day basis is basically a project management tool, which is just an application, and that's just completely changed the way that I can run the business. I can basically sit at my computer and I've got all of my guys with all their calendars all lined up. I can just drag and move their schedule as required. We can just, all the information's just there, everyone can access it, super easy.
Cool.
And all the documents, and then you can quote an invoice and put historic information within it. So that has really helped. As far as the day-to-day and the hands-on, I think you're always going to rely on a human to do that, just because there's so many variables in each job. Hey, I think I've thought of a few, an idea here and there, like, gutters, for example, because that's never ending. Like, could you have a sprayer system built in? Again, you'd have to outlay the money initially for the build, and try and sell that. But have like a spray system in the gutters that would turn on every couple of weeks and just spray down the gutters. Again, an outlay initially, but if you had the foresight, it may be beneficial in the long term. But so maybe tech for that sort of thing. I know they're using drones and things for external inspections. That's been really helpful.
Do you do that?
I don't personally, no.
But have you used that service before?
I have used the service. Yep, and it is really good. I don't think you would want to use it if you're, say, surveying an entire building. I think startup, getting it up and running and startup costs for it. You want to sort of survey more than just one little area, like a one window on a building.
Well, apparently you've got to have your like a equivalent of almost like a pilot's license to be flying a drone anyway.
And then I think it depends on where you are too, whether you can actually run it. So.
Right. Yeah. Interesting. Sorry, you're going to say something?
No.
So what do you think are the challenges ahead for your business? With we've obviously been through probably the most challenging time in our lifetime's history with COVID and that. Do you has that sort of taught you any lessons in business that you can apply to the future? Like, what do you think are the challenges for your business?
Yeah, just keeping up with the sort of that up and down of day-to-day running. You know, and sort of in the back of your mind, you're sort of like, when is this busy time going to end? You know, because we've been so busy for so long now, and there's always talk about it.
Yeah.
So just sort of keeping an eye on what's happening there, and not sort of over leverage, I guess. But yeah, I mean, just making sure that have enough capacity to keep the service up for the clients, and can keep the guys busy, really.
Yeah, and I guess one thing that everyone's talking about at the moment is staff, like finding staff. Have you had any issues finding staff for your business?
Very much so. Yeah. Very much so. At the moment, it's literally take what you can get. You know. Yeah, it's like I put ads out there, and it'd be like, you know, options for, you know, shares and you know, profit, you know, profit share and things like that, and I'd get no reply.
Really?
Nothing.
Wow.
And it would be like what I would think would be good salary as well. You know.
And people are just like, no.
You know, there's either just that many bigger companies out there, sort of more on your face, or, you know, people are just, you know, probably getting pay rises from where they're sitting, because so many employers are trying to, you know, retain their employees as well.
Oh yeah, man. The labour market at the moment is volatile. Like, there's so much movement going on, and we've seen it from, you know, both sides of the coin. People coming and going. Yeah. People coming in are great too. So it's the problem would be that if there was no people coming in, then we'd be in the shit. You know. Yeah. If people are leaving and you're replacing them with good people, you know, things just keep going. But it's when good people leave and then there's no one to replace them, you're like, oh, what the hell do we do now? But thankfully there is that. It is just like, I guess, like a cycle, like a wheel.
Yeah, exactly. And you know, you might lose a good guy or something, and then you're like, oh, I'm never going to replace them. But then someone else comes along and you're like, actually, you know, they're different, but they're great. You know, like they've got different ways of looking at things, and they're bringing different ideas to the day-to-day running in the business. You know. So I guess it's just sort of just riding with that, and
yeah. No, it's a good point. Well, it's been good catching up with you, man. It's and it's been good to like hear more about your business and what you do. Sounds like it's going great. It's been cool to, you know, see you go from when you left Active to what you're doing now. I mean, that's it's always sort of you know, encouraging to see people that have an idea and then they kick on with it and it succeeds. You know, there's plenty of businesses out there that don't succeed. So you know, you should be proud of what you've done so far, and I think, you know, you've got plenty ahead of you as well. So yeah, thanks for coming and having a chat, and no doubt we'll try and throw some more work your guys' way if you've got enough capacity to deal with it. Yeah. But no, I've enjoyed having the chat, and yeah, might catch up again about something else soon and have a beer or something.
Thanks, Brady. Really appreciate it.
No worries, mate. Good
Cheers.
one.